All right. Well, we are here with Jared, and I will not even attempt to pronounce the last name. We'll let you take care of that part. But we are here. Jared is a veteran, so I'm always anxious to talk to veterans that are in the real estate industry. So Jared's got an interesting story. He is not just actually, he's not part of the Sub 2 community that I
No,
am,
I
but
am.
he is. Oh, you are?
Yeah, I
Okay.
joined Sub
My
2
misunderstanding.
about a month ago, yeah.
Perfect. Well, then I stand corrected already on this podcast. So, Jared is in the Sub 2 community, but he also is a member of another community. So, we'll talk about that as well. But first off, let me welcome you to the show, Jared, and I'll let you introduce yourself with your last name.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Jarrod Oshsenbein.
That's
Um,
exactly how I was going to say it, too.
sure,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
of course. My favorite there was Ochsenbein. You go to the grocery
Octavian.
store, somebody said Ochsenbein. I was like, "Oh, I like that better." Yeah. Yep, Jarrod Oshsenbein, Army vet. Did my tours over in Germany and Bosnia. So, got out in '96. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, I was out even longer ago. Air Force, worked on the spy planes at Beale Air Force Base. So I worked on the U-2, the SR-71. So I got to work
Ooh,
on some
the
very
Blackbird.
cool, yeah, very cool aircraft. Went around the world with it, places that we couldn't talk about at the time. But yeah, no, it's great to have you on the show. What'd you do in the Army?
I was a mechanic, and the
Okay.
MOS at that time was 63 whiskey. And in the last couple years, I've heard that they've switched the nomenclature around. So now the 60 series is in the 90s, and the 90s is in the 60s, or something like that. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had someone on one of the earlier podcasts, and he was a mechanic. I think he was talking about Mike something. So couldn't tell you. Every service has got different
Yeah.
nomenclatures for things like that. But that's great. So you got out in '96. Did you jump right into real estate?
Oh no, I just got into real estate about 5 months ago.
About
So
5 months ago.
yeah, I'm
Yep.
brand new. No, I jumped into college, right, and worked 3 jobs. It was a crazy schedule for about 4 years, but the Army College Fund paid for about a year and some change of it. The rest I had to work for, right? So it was a kind of a crazy thing. I'll jump into it real quick because I think it was interesting. It was I go to school from 7 to noon, and then from 1 to 5 I was a mechanic, right? Because
Uh-huh.
I had skills for that, and then I would go work at a bar Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday from about 7 till 2 in the morning. And then on the weekends I had 12 on, 12 off. I was a security guard for
Ah,
24 hours on the weekends. It was perfect though because I could catch up on my homework. So anyway, it worked out for me. So
yeah, busy, busy, busy. So, that's kind of part of it when you're in the service. You've got all that support around you, you got a community, and they kind of dictate what you're going to do and when you're going to do it. You don't have to worry about a schedule. You get out of the service, and yeah, you need to set up your own schedule. And sometimes it can be even more hectic. We don't believe that when we're in the service, but yes, it can be even more hectic when we set up our own schedules.
yeah.
But you had some success doing that, so that's good.
Yeah,
When,
paid for college. Yep.
yeah, when did you become interested as a real estate investor?
It was actually quite a while ago. I was gonna buy a house in 2000 in Arizona, and I live in Oregon, by the way. And I would have actually done it, but I think it was something like 80 grand or something pretty cheap. It was in the Arizona before they completed the freeways there. And I thought, man, this is a great idea. I could buy this and then sit on it. And then when that freeway comes in, it'll rent for more and all that kind of stuff. But my mom had said, "Oh, that's great. I can move in there." I was like, "Oh, hell no." So that wasn't going to work. So I abandoned that idea. And then after the crash in '08 and all that, I was like, "Oh man, now's the perfect time to get in when things are cheap towards the end." And I didn't do it. I was so a little bit about me real quick. I'm or was an Intel manager up until August 15th, 23. I just recently left the W2. I was there for 23 years as a mid-level IT manager. I started off in IT and then moved into the management role. And I was actually about a year and 10 months away from being able to retire, and I left anyway um, to go pursue real estate. A lot of people say, "Oh, it's a bad time to get in real estate." I think it's the perfect time to get in real estate, depending on your frame of mind. Uh,
Yes.
we're approaching a pretty significant dip, and so anyway, I took this opportunity to jump in real estate. But as far as actually doing it, I've been interested my whole life. I bought and sold my personal properties over the years, made pretty good money doing it, and I've always wanted to do it. But really, that W-2 was an anchor. I mean, I was making good money. Don't get me wrong, but this has a potential for more. So that's why I finally made the plunge. Jumped out about 5 months ago. and I know you're going to ask this in a second, but I jumped into the Gator lending and did the lending thing to more or less understand real estate. And then I just recently joined Sub 2 and bought my first house in Arizona here, August 15th. So the same day, by the
Congratulations.
way, I left my company was the day I closed on the house. So
Oh, perfect. Well,
great.
congratulations on that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Gator, we'll talk a little bit about Gator for those people out there that, what the heck is a Gator? Gator is the name that Pace gave to lenders. I guess it goes from the fact that they loan out a little bit of money and take a big bite of the profit.
Yeah.
That's the way I think about it. So, you tell me from your experience what it was that interested you and how it went. What do you think?
Specifically with the Gator or real estate.
Yeah, with the Gator.
The Gator, for me, is probably different than most. For me, it was more or less, make a few bucks, great. But for me, being new into the investment side of real estate was to get in somewhere where I could see both sides of the deal. And then the lending was perfect for me because I can see the buyers and the sellers, and I'm in the middle, and I don't have to do any of the actual work, let's say, but I got all the knowledge, right? And so that to
Yeah.
me was like a no brainer. And so that's why I did it.
Yes.
And my
Well,
experience was good.
they talk about with real estate, you hear people say all the time, right? You can buy real estate with other people's money, right? And so the way I look at it is because of the community that we have out there, and what you did through Gator was you borrowed other people's experience.
Right.
Yeah, I say with real estate, you need to have money and you need to have experience, neither of which need to be yours. But trust me, you need to have both. There is no
Right.
such thing as getting real estate with no money. It either comes from a bank, a person, somebody is putting in money. Same way with experience. You are not going to have no experience and just walk through your first deal and not have issues. But what
Right.
you can do is you can borrow other people's money and you can borrow other people's experience. So what you did was you leveraged borrowing other people's experience by being one of the people that has money in the deal. So you were helping people who had experience but didn't have the money involved, or they wanted to use other people's money, I should say. And so, as you said, then you got to see it. It's like being inside baseball, right? You got
Yeah,
to see all the plays, you got to know what's going on. And that is a great way to get involved in the real estate community without any experience.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
for me, it was the perfect way to get in because my
I
ultimate
think so.
goal, yeah, my goal was my avatar, if you will, is buy and hold, right? That's my long term goal, and my motivation for that is the same as most, which is, provide for my family. But really, I actually owe our federal government and the state of Oregon for me getting in real estate because I got so upset with the taxes. That's how I got here, right? I read this book, Tax Free Wealth, and that set me on this journey. I didn't set
Mhm.
out to go do real estate necessarily. I was just trying to save a few bucks on taxes, and how the hell do I do that? Because I was getting taxed to death, and here I am.
Yeah,
So,
real estate was the vehicle that solved that particular problem for you.
right, yeah,
You know, and after all, this industry is about solving problems. Definitely. It's about coming up with the right solutions, whether you're dealing with, sellers, or like I deal with people that are veterans in foreclosure. They've got a lot of issues. And the last thing we want is to just have their head in the sand and then the house goes into foreclosure. They lose all the benefits they've lost on that VA loan. It's not a good situation. Not to mention, then they're kicked out, they're homeless, and if they were in that situation to begin with, they probably have some other things going on in their life.
yeah,
So, what I've been able to do, really, since I joined this community, and it's only been a little over 2 months that I've been in the Sub 2 community, my focus has been on the veterans in foreclosure. Once I was able to really think about who it is that I wanted to help and how can I help. I had the prior experience in real estate, so it wasn't for me. It wasn't about coming in and learning a lot of new things. I joined the community. Yes, I have learned things and I continue to learn things, but the most important, what I wanted and what I get from the community is exactly that, the community. I've met fantastic people. Now I'm getting to meet you. We're getting to talk about your experiences. And I know down the road, I'm going to be able to help you on some things and you're going to be able to help me. That's the part I love about this community. That's why I jumped into it.
yeah. It's that was the reason I wanted to get into Sub 2 was to get access to the community, not necessarily the training, the documents, and all that, but the community is more valuable than anything. Like I know people say, "Oh, it's kind of expensive to get in." Not really. I mean, that I would actually pay more than that from what I've learned and who I've worked with and the exposure I've got, the knowledge I've gained, and the house I bought. I mean, everything. It's been all from the community. So
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then jumping over to the sub two side, the fact that you are in and you're working on that, what kind of skills do you think, going back to the days that you were in the service, what kind of skills translate over into becoming a real estate investor?
I would say confidence, really. I mean, of course, I was kind of a arrogant kid, and I was, football, rugby, wrestling, track, all that stuff in high school, and I was kind of arrogant. But for me, I guess maybe not confidence, maybe curtailing that ambition or
Self belief, we'll call it, right?
so,
You have the belief that
tailor,
you can do it.
yeah, focusing it in a positive direction, right? Because
Yeah.
I was a rambunctious child, let's say,
Yeah.
had a lot of energy. Right?
Yep.
So yeah, that and then just working with people, understanding structure, discipline. Discipline's a big one, right? Obviously, military discipline, and that applies to now for me anyway, as far as discipline with funds, right? So
Yes.
leaving my W-2 and having a certain amount of funds that I need to work with requires discipline, right? And not just for me, but for the family and how we allocate funds and what we buy and how we live and yada yada. So I'd say that discipline.
Yep. So if you were a veteran out there and you were considering getting into real estate, what would be the advice that you would someone would give you in that situation that you would appreciate?
Find a mentor. Get somebody who's doing it. I think it's who Grant Cardone or one of the big wigs somewhere says, find somebody that's doing what you want to do and go talk to them, right? And that's
Right.
essentially what I did. And then for me, I wanted a little bit faster, so that's why I paid for the mentorship and got in here
Right.
twofold, right? But the way I did it was a little, like I said, out being disciplined and allocating funds. So for me, I wanted to do it in such a way that I call it free rolling. So in the poker world, I do the same thing. I play poker too, but I like to have things pay for itself. So for me, I didn't join sub two until Gator paid for it, right? So, and also I didn't move on to sub two until Gator paid for itself, right? So I thought,
Right.
okay, I'll prove this out. And then once Gator paid for the entry fee, then once I made enough to join sub two, then I did it that way. So for me, it was the discipline not to just jump full bore and throw everything on a credit card, that kind of thing. I mean, which, you can do. I just, in my mind, I wanted to do it in such a way that it was paid for, allocated,
Yep. You're,
move along, right?
in talking about the terms of gambling, right? You're paying on you're playing on the house's money, right?
Right. Well, for
So
me,
yeah.
I don't see poker as gambling. I see it as educated guessing. So
Well, that's
what
why I didn't say poker. I said gambling because
gambling, right.
yeah, many times in Reno, you go there anywhere in Nevada and Las Vegas. I mean, if you can make your initial money, then you're playing on the house's money, right?
Right.
That's the ultimate,
Yeah,
best case scenario.
the
But
way I do
yeah,
that is I'll go sit at a cash game like the worst players in poker in Vegas, 3-1 table, and I'll sit there until I win my buy-in for the tournament, and then I'll go play the tournament. So my tournament, I'm free rolling. So that same methodology for this.
yeah,
Same methodology I use for everything. I'm house hacking, so my renter actually pays my payment for my company car, right? And so
yes,
that's in my mind. I don't know why that is, but that's just how I see it, right? So that way,
yeah,
I don't know if it's right or wrong, but it's the way I balance everything, and I know things are
yeah.
covered financially. So
It's justification in your head as to why, where is that money coming from? Some people
right,
see it as, it's one big lump sum of money. Others see it as all segmented and categorized out to different things.
yeah,
And so for those of you that don't know what house hacking is, basically if you've got a house that you're living in, you've got a mortgage payment, or in your case, you've got a car payment, and you want to have that covered by somebody else. So by renting out one of the rooms in your house, whether it's Airbnb or on a permanent situation, right, you are house hacking. In the old days, of course, we just called that getting a roommate to help with
right.
expenses, right? But nowadays, you've got technology, makes it a lot easier. It's not like you're having to sit there at the end of the month and everybody's putting their money on the counter and you're splitting it up. It can all be done with apps. But that's what house hacking is. It's kind of like the first dip your toe into real estate rentals.
Yep.
You
Well,
know,
that led me into what I'm doing now, actually. So I'm
yeah,
doing, yeah,
yeah. I can see that you're very disciplined. I would not want to be in a poker game against you. I have a tendency to get impatient and I want to get to the end. My dad would play online poker, and sometimes I would just be really, really doing well because of just the odds, statistics, and everything else. But then I'd end up losing in the end. And he'd always say, "You're just so impatient." I go, "Well, yeah, but I was getting hungry. It was time to go eat, right?"
yeah. I don't do it.
I don't have that discipline to sit there and do that. So my hat's off to you on that.
No.
That's funny. All right. Well, let's see. So now that you have gotten experience with the gator and now you're in the sub two community, do you know what you want to focus on? Is there an area or a type of dwelling? I was talking to one person, he was talking about the number of doors that he wanted because he's in the multifamily. What are your aspirations?
Mine, this was tough for me because, man, I got to tell you that shiny object syndrome is real. I was all over the map. I think at one point I was going to go do the rent or the medical field, and I was going to look in Texas. There's 22 level 1 trauma centers in Texas, and I was going to go buy up the 2 ones around that and all that. But what I ended up after all of that, I ended up settling on Arizona. It's not necessarily all for business reasons. I have family in Arizona,
Your
so
mother?
my mother's in Arizona. So, I mean, for me, my mom had a stroke about 2.5 months ago, which
Mm,
accelerated my leaving the W-2 actually,
yeah.
because I want to be down there with her. And I've been down there 3 times in the last couple months, and so then I'll be down there this Wednesday actually too for a couple months because of the house I bought. So,
Yep.
my avatar, if you will, is buy and hold, but specifically it's for the rent by room model. Some people, have heard of pad
Mi-
split. So this isn't pad split, but it's pad split like, but it's a B class neighborhood, a little step up with a little bit more amenities, right? Like the house I've refurnishing is granite countertops. It's not like luxury or anything, but a little bit better than the average,
Right.
right? So I'm trying to hit a little bit different target market, if you will. I don't know if it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Right. And so for the people out there that don't know, that's what we call midterm rental. There's short-term rental, kind of like Airbnb where they rent it overnight, maybe up to a week. Then there's midterm. Well, first we'll jump to, then there's long-term, what we consider a traditional, hey, rented a house, right? It could be a lease for a year, could be a month to month, but usually it's longer. And then there's midterm where most of the time it's a furnished property. All the utilities and everything are included, and the person or persons are renting out a specific room in the house. So it's sort of like what I call an organized manner to get roommates. Going back to that old example, right? There was nothing worse than you tried to get roommates. One roommate was always never paying the rent and moving out, and it would cause a shortage because you still owed the landlord the full amount. And so in these cases, you're only responsible for your room. You've got one payment to make. Could be anywhere from, depending on the market, right? $700 to $1,000, sometimes more, depending on the market. We're doing midterm rentals here in Tennessee with some of the houses that we're taking and saving, and then we're turning around and doing, furnishing them, doing them as midterm rentals for veterans. So I look at
Oh,
it
cool.
as we're trying to help veterans that are in foreclosure from either losing their house or worst case scenario, if nothing else is going to happen, then we'll step in, we'll buy it, we'll turn around, we'll turn it into a midterm rental. We're providing more rooms for veterans that can't afford housing otherwise. And then also the last way that we're helping veterans, I like to say, stay out of foreclosure rather than in foreclosure is maybe they're looking at a career change because they're having trouble with funds, with money, right? And they need that career change. They need a little bit of direction in their life. Then I would say you can get involved either in Pace's community with the free group that he has on Facebook. You can dip your toe in there. I don't know, 200,000 members in there now in that free Facebook Paces group, and I'll post it down below. You can also join the sub two. You can become a gator lender. There's all kinds of different routes to go. So I'll post a link down below. Anybody has any questions, just reach out to me and I can help kind of direct you on what would work best for you. Those are some of the options that are out there. So for your midterm rental, who do you envision will be the person that rents those rooms?
So I'm targeting something that everybody and their mother told me not to do, but
Perfect.
I'm
What is
I'm
it?
not one to, and even real estate in general. Everybody told me not to quit my job. Everybody said you're crazy, blah blah blah, except for the people in real estate. It's funny. I'll get to the question in just a quick second, but
Yeah,
everybody in my world has said don't do this. This is nuts. But in my heart, I just knew it. So
yeah,
I'm going for it. And then in the real estate world, everybody said congrats when I told them, hey, I left my W-2. Totally different mindset, right? So
yes.
the people I envision are college students. Now,
Okay.
I know that a lot of people say this is nuts, but I'm going to try to target post grads. Now, this is the first pass, right? I'm going to try to target post grads and maybe, you know, fourth year undergrads or something like that, but a little bit more mature. Not going to run a frat house, that kind of thing. That's plan A. Plan B, we'll there's a couple plans, and then the worst case is go to pad split is the plan C. So
Hmm.
hopefully Ellis Tran's not listening right now. Ellis Tran is the Phoenix pad split guy. Down the road, we'll see. I'm not saying I'm not going to do it, but so what I'm targeting is, and the reason I picked this particular area is Glendale, Arizona, and it's a B class neighborhood, maybe a B minus, in Glendale. It's a nice little area. You go a couple miles in any direction, gets a little sketchy, but the reason I liked it was many reasons. You know how you have your buy box, right? For me, if you're
Hmm.
listening, Arizona, Glendale, Maricopa County, 3.2, 1750 square feet or bigger, no HOA. That's me. Hit me up. Um,
Perfect.
but
So if
for
anybody
me,
out there has any houses that are in that area, get a hold of Jared.
hey, I'm a buyer. So sub two or otherwise, creative, whatever. But I am targeting that because when I was searching around, I found what I thought was a pretty good opportunity in that area. It's a decent neighborhood where I felt safe. Originally, I was targeting the C class neighborhoods, but I didn't feel safe there. I didn't like it, didn't want to do it, and I felt hell. Any potential renter, members or tenants would feel the same way. So I switched gears and went this route. And the reason why is I looked at the surrounding areas. Within 10 minutes of Glendale, this particular property, there's Grand Canyon University, there's Glendale Community College, and then there's ASU West. And there's two other colleges I don't remember now. But the point is, I was looking for originally businesses or things that would potentially employ like workforce. And then I couldn't find it in that area. So actually, before I got that far, my original goal was when I had the W-2 was Gilbert and Chandler and potentially Scottsdale, but Scottsdale was kind of out of my price range. So I was looking at that for a slight cash play with more equity. And then things changed when I decided to leave the W-2. So now I'm pretty much cash flow, which is why I switched gears and pivoted. And so now I'm focused on cash flow because I couldn't cash flow what I needed out of your regular long-term rentals, right? And I
Right.
didn't want to manage the heck out of like Airbnbs and all that stuff. So I thought, okay, where's a good common ground? And then I settled on the pad split slash rent by room model, but I kind of wanted to have a little bit more of a service feel to it, or just not much, just a little bit more, not just sort of jamming people in a house and saying deal with it. So I wanted to have some amenities, right? Like a lot of the landlords will say, take the garbage disposal out, take the dishwasher out because you're going to have problems, right? And even though I know that, I'm going to leave it in. I'm going to
Right.
probably do the coffee maker thing. I even left. Now, this is against everybody else. Everybody says get rid of all the common areas. I'm not doing. I am the living room and uh, the formal dining room will become bedrooms. But I left the breakfast nook area because I know a lot of people say, "Hey, don't create common areas where people can have conflict and this and that." Which is probably true, but I wanted to leave it and have a nice little environment. I'm not going to put a TV there because I don't want people fighting over the TV, but I will have a common area, nice stuff, and even the amenities. Like it's going to be a furnished. Even the beds, I've stepped it up. Not like high end luxury, but not your
Right.
normal. I'm not going to furnish the whole thing with IKEA furniture and say have at her, and then everything's going to break in a month, right? So
Yep.
that's kind of the idea. And then the college will be. I'm trying to create a community, if that makes any sense. So not just anybody that applies. Now, I know there's laws and different things like that, but I'm actually going to be living there. I'm going to be a live-in landlord, right, for the first year. Because again, actually, I didn't say this. I bought this as a primary residence
Ah,
through a VA loan, actually.
okay.
So it's my primary residence. I'm going to be
Yep.
living there, and it's going to do a few things. I know I'm running long here, but I'm going to gain some experience, right? So I get to understand more by living there and what sort of things need to happen and yada yada. So I'm getting educated. I'm paying to get.
Yeah,
This is me going to school again. Put it that way. In real
exactly.
estate. Yeah.
Well, you've shown in your life that's the way you like to do it, and I think that's very smart. It takes a lot of discipline, as you talked about, and also patience. See, that kinda goes back to me. I don't have the patience for that. I wanna buy 10 properties right this second.
Right. Well, that's
But
why the property management thing, I wanna do long term, I do wanna hire a property manager and scale, but
Yep.
a lot of people will say, "Oh, well, why do that if you're just gonna hire someone?" Well, I wanna understand it, right? I wanna
Right.
understand, I wanna understand what types of things can happen, and I figure a good year it's probably not long enough, but at least a year is long enough to understand something. So
Yeah.
that's the idea behind it.
Perfect. Yeah, with, our midterm rentals, I don't know if they'll be quite as fancy as yours, but I'm definitely trying to do a little bit of a step up, more comfortable bed, make sure it's memory foam and all the other little fun things. I am having a common area. I'm One of the things that I'm doing is I provide an FOS, which is future of streaming service. So they can get that on the TV, but they can also put it on their own laptop and such. It's a streaming service that will give them access to all the movies from whether it's Netflix, HBO, any of that stuff. And so I want to include that because again, yeah, we want to we take pride in the fact that we want to provide a little bit more. I mean, yes, we have to make money. That's one of the reasons that we're doing this, but this has become a passion for me. It's been something that, we moved here 2 years ago to Tennessee, similar to your situation in the sense that when we left California, we moved to Georgia, my wife and I. And then my parents or my in-laws ended up moving to Tennessee to follow like our brother-in-law, not to make it too convoluted of a story, but in the end, it was 4 hours away from where we were. And my wife is still the one that is the primary helper. So it would go from, once a month to almost once a week. And we just said, we just got to move here. And then now we actually found a property, a couple of houses on one lot. So, because I don't really want to have everybody under one roof, but I do want to be here and help with the things that they need. So it's worked out great. But when we moved here, I didn't know anybody in this area at all. I didn't know the area. So the community has been just, for me, it has been inspirational. And the passion that I now have, I jump out of bed every morning and it's like, who am I going to get to connect with and who am I going to help next? That's the part
That's cool,
I,
man.
I love
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
That's the part I didn't know. Like, and also I didn't know that real estate was like a drug. So,
Yes.
oh my man, it's like everybody, it's like, "Oh, what's the next deal?" Boom, 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 and then the connection with people.
Yeah.
That's something I hadn't planned on. And I've made some pretty good friends here.
Yes.
It's great.
And part of why I like doing this podcast is, I'm interviewing veterans that are in the sub two community or, associated, whether it's Gator, anything like that. And, it's fascinating to me just to hear about, what take are you working on?
Yeah,
It's something that's different. Is it in alignment? I've gotten information from some of the other podcasts. It's like, wow, this is just fantastic. Some of the information to help me grow in what I can do here to help veterans. I've also gotten people that are now contacting me and it's like, "Hey, I'm over here in this area, which, area I don't know anything about. And, how can I help veterans there?" And so I really, like I said, it's passion. I love it. It's fabulous. So, um, so the house is in Arizona.
yeah.
Are you going to continue with the gator lending now, or are you just
Yeah,
gonna
I'm still
mainly
I'm still
focus?
doing that. Now I'm gonna focus I have to focus a
Okay.
little bit more on stabilizing this house. It's under construction now. The demo started on Monday. I think this coming Monday is when they're gonna start with some of the walls and doors. So, for people that don't know, I'm I guess I should explain this a little bit. I
I was
basically
gonna
took
jump in and
Oh, okay,
kinda
cool.
ask and have you explain that. Yep.
Yeah, so it would actually break even and maybe make a couple $100 with the 4 bedrooms if I rented by room, as it is. But there's Pad Split has been doing this, and I'm taking that same sort of methodology, which is taking the common areas. This is the reason I wanted a 2,000 square foot or better house. This actually happens to be 2,500 square foot and has plenty of parking for multiple people living there, and it's in a non-OHOA. The things that you need to make it work. So what you do though is you take a single family home and you take the common areas and wall them off and create bedrooms, right? And then rent out by room. It's as simple as that. So this particular house was big enough and the layout was such. That's the reason I went down there before I actually bought the house, was to see if it would work. Like, I have to see something. I can't do the picture thing. So I'm
I
gonna be
understand.
yeah, I'll be flying around because I'm looking at Oklahoma and Texas and things like that too. But um, anyway, so I got down there, and it just so happened that this thing would work. The vents were in. It's in Arizona, so you need air conditioning is like a primary concern, right? So the vents were such, and the rooms that I wanted to do would work, and I didn't have to do any extra construction. So I knew the construction cost would be cheaper for me. Um, and so this one has a pretty big living room that's becoming a bedroom, and then a pretty big formal dining room that's becoming a bedroom. And then it has an Arizona room that's covered. Arizona room is basically like a covered porch, I guess. And correct me if
Yeah.
I'm wrong. I grew up in Paradise Valley, but it's been forever since I've been there, so I don't know all the terminology. But so it's essentially a covered porch, and it already had a mini split in it. So that's going to become 2 rooms, one of which I will occupy. And then the other 4 bedrooms are obviously just how they are. And the allure of this particular house was several things. One, it was big enough, had plenty of parking. The bathroom was already jack and jilled for a common area. The solar was paid for, and that was big for me because in Arizona in the summertime, you can imagine the utility cost for AC is pretty high. And so it's not a huge amount, but the solar's paid for, and it puts out about 30K a day, 30 kilowatt hours a day in the summer. So anything's good,
Yeah.
and that was good for me. So that's why I jumped on that particular house. Am I going to find another one? Probably not. Am I going to look like crazy? Yes, I am. um,
Yep. So
so
when all is said and done, how many bedrooms are you going to have there?
it'll be 8 bedrooms.
8 bedrooms. And how many bathrooms?
So it's only 2. But
Okay.
I do have this house has an atrium, and if I need to, I'll probably turn that into a bathroom in the future, a nicer bathroom in the future. But that's another reason why I sort of switched and kind of focused on college kids, because I thought, all right, who's going to care? I mean, who can I rent to that's in this particular area that's going to be able to deal with that? And I thought, okay, in a dorm or even in a college setting or barracks in my case, you're used to
Yeah.
having, common areas. So I thought, okay, the
Yep.
younger kids, they're gonna not care as much, right? There's
Yeah.
no so that's I realize 8 bedrooms and 2 baths is pushing it, right? A pad split says you can do 4 rooms per bathroom,
Per
right? So that's
bathroom.
their
Yeah.
limit. I
Yep.
personally think it should be a little less. Now I'm gonna be traveling a lot, so I will be one of the occupants of the house. So
Yes. And I
it's
think that makes a
8 by 1.
difference.
It'll make a little difference, and the way the layout is, I think it'll be okay. Now
Yeah.
if I get a bunch of, women, it's all women, then that'll be a problem because I don't think
Yeah.
7 women in a house with 2 bathrooms is gonna work.
No.
So,
Yep.
we'll see how it goes, but
Yeah.
that's the idea.
The one that we have was a 3 bedroom, 1.5 bath. And so I converted there was an actual add-on back room. So I'm in the process of finishing up converting it into a huge bedroom, essentially. But it's not a master bedroom. It doesn't have a bathroom attached to it, but it is going to be the manager's room. And so I've taken one of the veterans that was in another property that was displaced, and he's going to be the manager there.
Oh, cool.
So we'll have that one, and then the master bedroom will go for a little bit more because it's got a half bath attached to it, and then one common that'll be for 3 bedrooms. And I know I talked to Pad Split as well. I'm not looking to do the 4 per 2 bathroom because again, it there is no right or wrong. It's just personal preference, and I'm looking to try and provide just a little bit more. So for me, if I had 2 baths that were totally separate instead of one being in the master bathroom, well, then I could add, a few more rooms and maybe make it 6. So it'd be 3 and 3. But that's kind of for me. I'm looking at 3 rooms per bathroom is where I'm at. I'm using
That's
the Pad Split model. They are not in Tennessee. I did talk with them. I think they have some great. It's a great program, and they'll do the management. And what they do is they place the people. They take a management fee like any normal management company, and then they do the advertising and everything. Well, if they're not in your area, they don't do the advertising, and so you have to essentially come up with the tenants. And so to start with, until we get to the point where we've got multiple locations in one area, that's where we're at now.
cool.
Yeah. So for me, I mean, for a lot of people, they're looking at multi-units and a lot of other things, and I get it. But one thing when you first get into the sub two community or into real estate investing is you really need to focus to begin with, because you can go in so many different directions. You could be drinking the fire hose, trying to get all the information about all this stuff, all of which fascinates me because I like learning. I'm a jack of all trades. I like doing things, um, and I love learning things. But the biggest thing I've learned is that I shouldn't do all of the things,
Right.
and I need to focus. So for me right now, it's single family homes. We're just going to continue to try and help veterans in foreclosure and try and help them from getting into foreclosure. And then with the midterm rental will be able to help veterans that otherwise don't have housing. And we're working with the VA. They have some vouchers. It's similar to a Section 8 type of deal. I explain it to people like this: if Section 8 is a government program that puts out a voucher that helps families that can't afford affordable housing. So the veterans have something similar, but it's for an individual that was a veteran. So that's why the 4 room for rent model works better. It's very difficult for them to get a voucher that maybe $1,000, and they're trying to find a house for
Right.
$1,000.
Yeah.
It doesn't work, right? Whereas the Section 8, they have a little higher limits, but they're an entire family,
Yeah.
so that makes sense. We can go in, if we're putting in, 3 people that are paying $1,000 a month, and you're doing $3,000 for the rental income coming in plus the manager. And the difference is, if you could have rented that house for 1,500, well, you're getting twice the money. Now you also have other expenses. So I don't want everybody to think that we're just trying to milk out every penny. I mean, we got to pay for all the electricity, the water, the garbage. We're paying for services, internet. We're paying for all of that. We even pay for housekeeping. We're paying for the yard care,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. And housekeeping is not the motel model. They don't come in every day. I guess nowadays they don't anyway, but in the old days they'd always come in every day. No, we send them by every other week, and it's just kind of to clean the kitchen and things like that. We don't want the people to be arguing over. When I was in the service, I had roommates, and we always argued over whose turn it was to do the dishes.
Yep.
I went on vacation one time, came back 2 weeks later, all the dishes were still in there from when I had left.
Wow.
And that was typical. I mean, there was 3 of us. We were young and single and stupid.
But that smelled good.
Yeah. 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 I used a few, phrases like that to tell them what I thought of it and what I thought it smelled like. So that's the way that works. So, all right. Well, I think we're getting to the end here. Is there anything that you would like to tell people about how to get a hold of you, and specifically why they should get a hold of you?
If somebody wanted to just chat about real estate in general, I've got my Instagram handle there. You can reach out to me on Instagram. We can chat that way. But if you're looking at this or even thinking about it, hit me up. You're talking to somebody who 5 months ago would have never dreamed of this. And I read a book. I mean, and I don't, I read some in the army, but I'm not an avid reader, right? And so, just being honest. And so I jumped into the book. If you want to, is Tax Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. I know a lot of people will tell you, this one here, the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, is the Purple Bible is the one that got them in there. But
Yeah.
if for me, it was just taxes that got me here. And I read the book Tax Free Wealth, and then I found out that Tom Wheelwright he is the CPA for Robert Kiyosaki, the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad. So I got into it a different way. But yeah, if somebody wanted to reach out to me, just hit me up on Instagram, and I'll talk your ear off. So hit me up. Like I said, I left my W-2, so got some time on my hands.
Perfect. And then as far as the Gator lending, what does that mean for people? Who would you be that they would be talking to? What would they be wanting from you for Gator
Um,
lending?
on the Gator side, in real estate, you have a myriad of different things on the sub two and purchasing side, and the same thing on the Gator side. So, starting off in Gator, a lot of people start with say earnest money because maybe they don't have a lot of capital. That's the other thing that's kind of cool about sub two and Gator is you don't have to have any money at all. All you need is your time and some, build your skills and social skills, right? So network with people, talk to people, and there's actually a path to go forward where, if you build your network, you can take the people that need X and put them with the people that need Y, and then you get paid in the middle, right? So if somebody's looking to buy and someone's looking to sell, there's that on the sub two, and then on the Gator side, hey, someone needs funding for earnest money, or somebody needs gap funding during a flip or something like that, or double close, or there's all kinds of different ways. So I guess reach out to me and we can chat about what you're trying to accomplish. I think about the end goal in mind and work backwards. That's how I typically try to operate. Now I don't always do that, but so I guess it would depend on their goals and what they're trying to get into. But the Gator lending is a way to um, make some money even on the side and put people together. But if you do have some capital, then you can actually put that to work for you instead of sitting in the bank. Um,
Perfect.
yeah.
All right, Jared. Well, it's been a pleasure talking to you today. So I think what I'll do is crank up a little music and say goodbye.
All right. It's good talking to you, Sean.